All right, so I'm going to teach you all a little bit about this concept known as a list in Python. There are two types of collections that we're going to see in Python. Lists are one, dictionaries are another. And the most common reasons that you're going to use a list is going to be as some sort of a roster or as some sort of an inventory. You see, a list is really good at storing a bunch of different variables. So this could be quite literally the roster of a team. This could be a roster of all of the spaceships that are flying through your game. This could be the roster of all of the laser beams that are active on the screen, or of all the meteors that are falling. This could also be your inventory, like if you're building an role-playing game, an RPG, or any sort of action or adventure game where you need to keep track of, like, oh, I've got potions and a shield and coins or whatever else. So the format for a list is really easy. You start off by defining it as something, and don't do this. Don't actually call it list equals whatever. You never want to name a variable after the type of thing that it is. It can cause problems later. So for my example, I'm just going to call my list S because why not? And the format's really easy. You say S equals and then square brackets. Not parentheses, not those squiggly, curvy braces things, but actually just the square brackets that show up on your keyboard between P and the slash. And you separate all the entries with a comma. So I made a simple little list right here. I've defined B as cat for a good reason, and then I made my list, and my list has, 6 things in it. The word dog, the number 4, the word horse, the word capital A, 45, and B. Why did I define B as cat? To show you that a list could hold lots of things. You could have the actual text itself, or it could be a variable, or it could be a number. You can put anything you want in a list like this. So here goes. Here's my list. I hit play. I come over here to the console, and I say, what is S again? It says, it's those things. Well, the big 4 things that you're going to do to lists, and there's multiple ways to do each of them, is to add things, to remove them, to test if something is in a list, and to do some sort of sorting. So if you think about like an RPG and you pick up, I don't know, a dagger, or you pick up a quiver of arrows or something, you're going to be adding stuff to it. If you then turn around and spend that money, or sell something, or use a bullet or an arrow, you're going to be removing it from the list. If you want to see if something is in a list, you'll be testing whether it exists in that list or not. And the last thing that we might do, the last thing that you're going to do a lot to list is going to be to sort it. Sometimes this can be alphabetically, sometimes this can be by how many items are in there. And really when we're doing this, there's kind of 2 general ways that we can do this. There's just general functions work on lots of things besides lists. So you could print it out, or you could use len, just like we did on words, to see how long they are. So if I come over here and say, what is the length of my list? It's going to say 6 because there's 6 things in it. I can also say, I would like you to print my list out, please. And it says, yep, there it is. It's the same thing as typing S. For these general functions, you're going to recognize them as something that makes a lot of sense, followed by a parenthesis. So print S, or give me the length of S. There's also going to be what is known as some functions that are specific only for lists, and these are known as a method. I can print a variable, I can print a number, I can print a piece of text. I can look up the length of a word, I can look up the length of a list. Like, these are generic, and they can print lots of things and do length of lots of things. There's also going to be some functions that we'll use that only work on lists. For example, some of you kind of saw this with the challenge the other day about the count function. Count is a method or a function that's only available for lists that says, I want you to look through my list S and tell me how many times dog shows up. So if I go back to my example right here and I say s.count dog, it's going to say 1 because there is 1 dog in that list. If I say give me the count of doggy, it's going to say 0. There are no doggies in the list. If you tried to do that on a word, or if you try to do that on a number, like, hey, tell me how many times a 4 shows up in 45, it's going to say, what? No, sorry, I did that wrong. 45.count 4. It's going to say, what are you even talking? I guess I could spell it right. Jeez Louise. Let's blame Lilith for this one. It's going to say, no, you can't do that. Count only works on list objects. So I could go through and give you examples of how to do each of these 4 things. I'm not going to. I'm going to have you kind of play around with the documentation. I will say, though, that the 2 that are going to be really, really, really common is going to be append and insert for adding. So append is always just going to go right here to the end, and that's really, really easy. We're going to use like if you think about an appendix at a book, that always goes at the very end. So if I want to add something to the list and I don't care where it goes, we'll just throw it on the end. Oh, that's pretty easy. It's just going to be s.append whatever. So let's just say I wanted to add, whatever, I'll not have my list. We're going to add unicorn to my list. I can simply say s.append, oops, I can spell, unicorn. And now when I say what's on my list again, yep, there it is, unicorn. That's at the end. If it matters though where you put something in the list, this is where you're going to use the other one, which is insert. Where did I? Oh, right here. Sorry, I was looking at the bottom. Insert. And insert is actually going to take two pieces of information. It's going to say, what do you want to add and where do you want to add it? So going back to my example right here, let's just say it was really important that I put something in between horse and A. I want the fourth thing on my list, dog, four, horse, blank, to be something new. So let's just say I want it to be, I don't know, donkey. I want the fourth thing, but remember the computer counts as from 0. So I want the third thing to be equal to the word donkey. All right, so what I've said right there is dog is 0, 4 is 1, horse is 2. I want the third thing to now be equal to the word donkey. I want to insert it in between the horse and the A, and sure enough, there it is. So if you don't care where it goes, throw it on the end. If you do care where it goes, put it in the middle. Or use insert to say, I'm going to put it in this exact position. So to remove something, there's also going to be two ways you can do this. You can also remove this thing by its position, and of course position is known as the index. So you can say get rid of or delete the thing in spot number 3. You can also say I want to remove something by name. You can test if something is in a word, or you can test in a list, or you can test if it's not in, the same way we did with letters in words. Is there an A in the word dog? In is going to give you true or false, not in, of course, will do the same thing. You can also see what is in a specific spot, right? So this is just like how we did it with what letter is in a certain spot in a word. If I say, hey, what is in the second spot in my list right there, it's going to say horse, right? Because again, it counts from 0. So dog is 0, the number 4 is 1. Horse would be the second thing in the list. I could say like, is moose in S? And the answer is false. Moose is not in S, right? So we could even do if statements with this. If the word moose exists in S, then, I don't know, print out a moosey statement. I don't know, man. You come up with something better than that. Finally, the last thing that we're going to do with lists quite often is to sort them. And this can usually be in some sort of alphabetical order. But what I'd like you all to do is learn how to find these out and find out other things that we're going to do to lists. So when you go back to Python right here, and you swipe back left, and we swipe to the console, and I hit this question mark on the very top left. Right, to show that happening again, look in the very top left, right above where it says append unicorn, and there's that question mark. That's the help file. And we're going to scroll down here to the language reference. This is where you can look at like the help menu. This is where it explains exactly how everything works in here. And so what I want to do, sorry, I said that wrong. I want to go to the library reference, and we're going to scroll down until we see list, which is right here on 4.6, sequence type, and we're going to click on list. And here's all of the things that work on common sequences. So these will work on lists, these will work on tuples, these will work on words, lots of other things. Some real basic commands right here, and it tells you how to use them. We scroll down a little bit further to mutable sequence types, big words you don't need to know, and here's a couple more things. So if you want to delete something at a certain spot, right? I want to delete everything in list S from index I to J. Well, if you're only deleting one thing, it'd be delete S at spot number 3 or something. Look, I already showed you how to append stuff right there, how to insert things and how to remove them and how to reverse them and how, let's see, sorting, I think was in this first one up here. Wait a minute. Why is it not? That's weird. Sort is also going to work. You can alphabetize this thing. I will prove it to you. Oops, I'll go back to Pythonista right there. If I come over here and I say s.sort, sort S, Okay, that's really weird. Oh, it's sorted, isn't it? You gotta be kidding me right now. Alphabetizing a list doesn't work anymore. Oh, nope, sorry, I see the problem here, folks. It is sort, but apparently you can't sort things that are integers and strings. It doesn't know what to do in here with these numbers. So let's just get rid of the numbers real quick and we'll try this again. All right, so there's S, and if we try to sort S, there it is. Now it's in alphabetical order. If I want to reverse it, then just like I said before, we're going to use reverse right there to reverse it in place. So if you see this over and over and over again in the help file when it says it does this in place, all that's telling you is that you don't need to say S equals S dot sort, right? That you don't need to redefine it. When I say S dot, let's just say reverse, it's gonna, none has, oh, yeah, see, it got mad at me because I said S equals S dot sort. Don't do that. When the documentation says it happens in place, there's S. Let's just reverse it real quick. And I reverse it. I don't need to say S equals S dot reverse. I just say, look, reverse it right there. Do it to itself. And boom, now it's in backwards order from the way it was. All right, so what I'm going to ask you all to do today is watch this video. Congratulations, you're all done with that. And then you have all the rest of this period and all day on Friday, during sixth period to work on some of these skill checks that are posted now. There are 3 new skill checks that on lists, 2-1, B, and C. There's also the 2 for loops that you didn't know how to do before that involve lists. And so you got 5 things to work on. I would love to check in with you on Monday. I would love you to show me a bunch of these things work on Monday, so that gives you half of this class period and all of the block day on Friday. If you have questions on how this works, ask your neighbor, ask your friend, like work in groups, and that's fine. I wish you the best of luck on this, and Monday when I come back, I'd like to check in on these.